from the BBC World Service in association with ABC and All India Radio. This is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London. I've had a trip up to the Midlands this week, doing a little bit of filming ahead of the Ashes. And since we last spoke, I've also had an early, well, very early Christmas dinner with the family because, of course, I'll be in Australia at Christmas time. So we had bad Christmas cracker jokes and everything. But before I fly out, there's a bit of radio commentary to be done on the men's T20 World Cup as well. So plenty to keep me out of mischief.
Jim Maxwell in Sydney Alley. Yes, well, you're about to jump on a plane. Well, you know what I did today? For the first time in 5 months, I jumped in a car and I went over the Harbour Bridge. I have not been beyond my local government area for all that time. We're out of lockdown. This freedom is outrageous. And hopefully by the Ashes start, I'll even allow people to go and watch it.
I'm Sunil Gupta for All India Radio in New Delhi, where I can tell you the one and only thing on the minds of 1/5 of humanity is the big game in the T20 World Cup on Sunday. And if ever the adage that paucity raises the pitch, raises hopes and raises expectations and the stakes to come, well, then Sunday is the day it's going to happen.
No pressure. Of course, you're talking about India versus Pakistan in the men's T20 World Cup. Jim, congratulations on the freedom. I mean, contain yourself, but we're glad that you've sat back and stayed in, especially for us to record Stumped when you could be out and about enjoying your freedom. And I want to start this week with the very strong rumours coming out of India that Rahul Dravid is going to be the next coach of the men's national side and he'll replace Ravi Shastri at the end of the T20 World Cup. What is the latest on this? And do you think he's the right man to take over?
Oh, I think it's a done deal. I mean, it's just the formalities to be gone through, which is that he's actually got to put in an application and all the rest. No question that he's the right person in the right place at the right time, and that does not always happen. And we just look at his track record as the head of the NCA, the National Cricket Academy. I mean, the Indian bench strength that took on Australia when India were touring their last and went on to win that series, that was all sort of made by him. And I think that is something that will always be with Indians because it was always the bench strength that was always a question mark. I mean, I think the Indian team has reached a certain position now, having beaten England and Australia in the same year. And I think now it is the time to be able to take stock and build upon what Ravi Shastri has done for the team.
My experience of Rahul Dravid is that he is indeed a man of great humility. And that came across even when he joined us for some radio commentary at the 2011 World Cup throughout India. I remember just a small example, the great man that he is, India's best number 3 former captain. Before we'd even had a chance to ask if he wants a cup of tea, he's asking all of us if he can go and get us tea. So, little things like that. He's just a good human. Jim, I mean, I saw Michael Vaughan, the former England captain, tweet that if the rumours are indeed true and Dravid will become coach, then he said, the rest of the world better beware. Again, just a mark of, I guess, how highly regarded he is.
Yes, he's one of the most respected people in the world of cricket. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I mean, India are already a juggernaut under Virat Kohli, even the Shastri. Yes, the mentorship will be important, but it's just the fact that India are now producing a depth and quality of players that we're going to see an Indian team that'll be very hard to beat in all forms of the game from here on. And Dravid will just be the moulding, mentoring force around it. So, everyone beware. I think they're just going to get stronger and more successful.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Some sporting teams, the coach seems to play a much more significant role in the success, or at least becomes more of a figurehead. In other teams, the coach is very much the figure in the background, like you said, Jim, that sort of moulding figure. So it'd be interesting just how the importance of his role and his personality, his character plays out in the grand scheme. Sunil, how do you look back then on Ravi Shastri's tenure? There have been some significant wins along the way. What will his legacy be?
Well, I think he and Kohli bonded very well, a bit too well, if you know what I mean. I mean, I think to coin an expression, Jim will like this. I think what Shastri brought to the Indian team was the Australian touch. In your face, all-out aggression. And he had Virat Kohli as his point man to do that. And both of them really formed that excellent bond that really made India come out of its shell. India was always seen as being a sort of not aggressive. And I think that that was a very important step that he took. So, and he's won now in Australia and finally in England. But there will be a couple of things, I think, that he will think back on. And he was respected. He was looked after.
Now, we spoke last week on the podcast about India being amongst the favourites to win the T20 World Cup. How much pressure on the side, I guess, especially with it being Shastri's last tournament as well, but more so, as you mentioned, this enormous scale of the opening match that they face?
Well, I think both Kohli and he are feeling the same pain and pressure. I mean, they haven't won an ICC event between them. I think that is going to rankle. Kohli's captaincy swan song in the IPL didn't go too well. He's now going to give up the T20 captaincy, and there's a word about he's going to give up the ODI captaincy as well to Rohit Sharma. So Rahul Dravid actually is going to have two captains. Ravi Shastri had one for all three formats. Rahul Dravid is going to be working with two, so I think that's going to be another aspect of it. But certainly, I think both Kohli and Shastri, certainly Shastri, would be very keen to fill up this blank in their CVs, because the World Cup, the previous T20, the ICC World Test Championship didn't go according to plan. India were favourites in the World Cup in England in 2019. So I'm saying there are so many things that I think they want to put an end to. And of course, Sunday will really be, I think, the way that they will sound the trumpets as well on what they will want to be their victory charge.
Now, this is going off at a slight tangent, but I actually just want to highlight an interview that I noticed during the week. It caught my eye with all-rounder Hardik Pandya. He was speaking about money in the game and money and the payments that players receive. And I suppose it's topical around the IPL, isn't it? It's topical around, we talk about countries who have maybe struggles with getting a strong test team together because players want to play franchise cricket, they can earn more money there. But Hardik Pandya is mentioning a conversation he had with someone in 2019, and this person said to him that money shouldn't be there for all you young players. And Hardik disagreed, and he's talking about from very much his perspective, from an Indian cricketer's perspective. He says when a guy from a village or a small town gets a big contract, he doesn't keep it for himself. He's looking after his parents. He's looking after his relatives. Money makes the difference, and it gives motivation as well, he says. He said there's a misconception that people shouldn't talk about money. And that can be cultural as well, can't it? This sense that, money, it should all be about the pride of playing, and money is something that sort of happens secondary, but we know it's so important to players. They're all trying to make a living. He says, I don't know how many people would play cricket if the money wasn't there. I mean, are we shy about talking about it? I mean, clearly it does impact cricketing decisions that players are making, franchise versus country. And this has been something which has been bubbling away and not necessarily even in the background for a number of years.
That's the big thing about money. It brings freedom. So you don't have to worry about any of these issues around where you're going to live, how you're going to pay for what you put on your back or in your mouth and so on. It's probably true to say most of the cricketers who get established, certainly in Australia, have come from backgrounds where there isn't a problem. They probably wouldn't have ever played cricket had they come from poor backgrounds. I'm not sure in Sunil's situation how many people from desperately poor backgrounds, and there'll be plenty of them in India, managed to rise to any kind of fame and reward in cricket. I think that the socio-economic situation's probably a bit different in India to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think money is absolutely critical, especially in the Indian context. You remember T. Natarajan, who played in the fourth test match in Australia. His mother used to cook for people in a tin shack. I mean, it is as bad as that. Ajinkya Rahane used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, catch the local train, go and play cricket in the Maidan, and then go back home and study. And they didn't have cars to take them around. So I think that money is absolutely critical. And I think the IPL has played a huge role in emancipating these youngsters, because otherwise they wouldn't really have had freedom. So I think what Hardik Pandya said is absolutely right. The question is, at what level should it be pegged? I mean, sometimes when you get something too early, too much too early, and we've seen people burn out because they get the money, they don't know how to handle it.
And I think the UK situation would be similar to Australia in terms of the socio-economic status of most cricketers who make an international debut, very, very unlikely to have come from a background of relative poverty. You just don't hear those similar stories of, earning money to send back to families. Yes, cricketers have all got families to support those. So everyone has their own motivation. It's on a different sort of scale. And of course, it's earning a living, it's money. And whatever industry you're in, you're striving to climb the ladder, aren't you? And with that comes the financial reward. So I don't think anyone should ever be sniffy about sportsmen and women earning money and wanting to better themselves.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on All India Radio.
Now, to end this week's show, we are going to celebrate. Now, that is the music from a well-known 1994 chocolate brand advert in India, which became iconic. Now, why are we featuring it on Stumped? Well, the advert featured a woman sitting on the sidelines of a cricket match, watching her male friend score a winning boundary and then running onto the field and dancing with delight. The actors became famous and the music became absolutely iconic in India. But fast forward to 2021, and the advert has been reimagined by swapping the gender roles and ending with a powerful message of #Good Luck Girls as a tribute to women athletes. Now, Chennai-based educator, swimmer and actor Kavya Ramachandran plays the female cricketer in the 2021 version, and she is with us now. Kavya, great to have you on. How did it feel to take on that role as cricketer in the advert?
When the advert came out, I felt a lot more then as opposed to when I was shooting for it, because this is what I say always. I did not realize the impact that the ad in 94 created, because that was the year I was born and I hadn't seen the ad. I remember vaguely the jingle, but I had no idea the stir that the ad had created back then. So right now, I just feel super grateful that I could play a small part on a production like this.
So I've very broadly described the advert. Describe it in more detail, how it plays out.
I'm sure you've all seen the original. It's a super cute dance number that Shimona does, and which is unmatched. And I thought it was really refreshing when they asked me to send the audition. I thought it was really refreshing, the gender swap, because sport is something that's super close to my heart, and women getting cheered on in the field of sport is even closer. And the fact that I got to play the cricketer was the biggest highlight in my life. So many emotions going through right now, actually, this very instant I'm talking to you all. I realized the impact of the ad only when I went on set, because everyone was saying, Kavya, we're not trying to recreate the same thing. You can't do that because that's a classic. Treat it as an ode to honor the classic. And I thought that was important, because the pressure to recreate something that was as big as that would have been too much if we are trying to, one-up it, because that was never the intention.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful, isn't it? So you strike the shots, and then it's the male from the stand who's celebrating your achievement comes running on, doing a dance onto the outfield. Yeah, it is a powerful image. Sunil.
Kavya, this is Sunil Gupta for All India Radio in New Delhi, so I'm very close to you. Congratulations on this. How did you become involved in this particular advertisement?
So before the second wave of the pandemic hit us all, I was part of another ad by the same production house. And the casting director, Gayatri, she got in touch with me post that ad. And she got in touch with me and sent me this video clip saying, hey, they're recreating this ad. Why don't you give it a shot? And if it wasn't for her pushing me, because I know I delayed sending that audition clip so much, because I have two left feet, no coordination when it comes to cricket. 3 of my friends were all cricketers helping me with the shot. And it was also a little strange for me because I'm playing on a ground with actual cricketers, but I have to still act shy and coy while I'm hitting nothing. It was fun. It was an experience. Embarrassing back then, but I'm super happy that I got through that and sent that audition to Gayatri. I was nervous because I have this tendency of hitting the ball with my leg instead of using the bat. So, but they did send me for a 3-day coaching camp. I think that really helped.
Kavya, it's Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney. and
Hello.
delighted to be hearing what you have to say. So, were you a cricket fan? Are you a cricket fan? And the other vital question is, how many takes did it take for the hook shot to be perfect?
I come from a family who are crazy about cricket. My mom and dad always support two different teams. So there's always an argument at home. But I watch it with them, but I'm not a crazy cricket fan. Yeah, how many takes? Very many takes. I think there was only one shot that I got right, and that's the one shot that they have on camera.
The ad has gone viral. Did you expect that reaction?
Not at all, not at all. Somebody sent the ad to me saying it's out. Did you see it? And I didn't realize. And the next thing I opened social media, it's everywhere. And on the first day, I was a little surprised and shocked as to why it got that kind of attention. And that's when I realized there's so many people who are affected by the original. I honestly didn't think it would make it this far.
And do you yourself, Kavya, sort of feel quite strongly about challenging gender norms, those sort of traditional male-female roles in society and in Indian society in particular?
Of course, I feel very strongly because I do come from a sport background. I'm a swimmer myself. And when I used to swim competitively, there used to be a lot of people who would come up to my parents and say, why are you sending her for sport? She's going to become masculine and manly, which is unnecessary because they don't see what goes behind it, or the struggle that comes with it. So especially because of that experience in my life, I do feel very, very strongly about gender norms and breaking the stereotypes.
Thank you so much, Kavya, for sharing your side of the story with us on Stumped. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is actress Kavya Ramachandran. Well, that is it for this week's Stumped here on All India Radio. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport. Make sure you use the hashtag BBC Stumped. My thanks to Sunil Gupta and Jim Maxwell, and of course to you all for listening. We'll speak to you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.